Hey everybody, what is up? I am back again here. Today we're going to be doing the latest Alice in Chains album, The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here. Now, this is the second album since the group got back together with new vocalist William Duvall, follow-up to 2009 album Black Gives Way to Blue, which I thought was a great album. I'll try not to do a mini review of Black Gives Way to Blue here, but suffice to say, I thought that was a really good comeback record. Things obviously split into two camps here, with some people refusing to accept an Alice in Chains without Lane Staley, and I understand that, but Lane's not here, so we're gonna have to make do with what we have. Jerry was basically the main songwriter in Alice in Jerry Cantrell was basically the main songwriter in Alice in Chains. He wrote most of the lyrics, most of the melodies. Not to say Lane didn't contribute. He had songs like Angry Chair, and Lane did all the lyrics on the songs he sang lead vocals on the self-titled record. But the surviving guys had a lot to do with Alice in Chains, and I'm not going to hold it against them for wanting to continue on. If Lane were here today, it'd be great to have him. His voice is basically irreplaceable. So now, a lot of people refer to William Duvall as the lead vocalist for Alice in Chains, which I'm going to disagree with pretty heavily. Jerry Cantrell is the new lead vocalist for Alice in Chains. William Duvall had one song on Black Gives Way to Blue, Last of My Kind, which was a decent tune, but mostly Jerry is the new lead vocalist, and that holds true for this new one here, The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here, as well. Now, William Duvall does do a lot of backing vocals, and there are a lot of tracks that are co-vocals with the two of them. Now, when the two of them kind of come together, they do channel a lot of that Lane Staley essence. Obviously, it's probably the closest you're going to get without Lane. When the two, when Duvall and Cantrell both come together and double up the vocals, you get a lot of that Lane feel, which is intentional, and they're right to continue that sort of sound. So anyway, cracking into The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here. The first single was Hollow. It came out late last year, and I like it. It's a really slow, doomy kind of track. If I'm going to level some criticism against Hollow, it's that it is pretty similar in structure, in pacing, and length to a Looking In View on Black Gives Way to Blue. Again, some of that's Jerry's trademark sound, but I would like to have heard some difference in that one. We're kind of retreading a bit, despite the fact which I do like Hollow. I think there's some cool melodies in there, cool riff, but I'm going to have to call it out for some similarity. And then the other single, the most recent one, Stone, again, there's some similarity in my opinion to Check My Brain. There's some bendy, really slow bends in there on the E string. So there's some similarity with Stone and Check My Brain, in my opinion. So the album starts off, right off the bat, it's front loaded with some of the heavier, more rock, sort of doomy type tracks are kind of front loaded on this one, which was similar to Black Gives Way to Blue, because you get Hollow and Stone, and then they really front load the heaviness on it. And then cracking into the title track here, the intro to The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here, the song, has some similarities to Love Hate Love, kind of the same sort of feel. I wouldn't say that it's them ripping off themselves in a way, but it's more of a callback, I think, to that sort of sound. And it's really a great track. I'm glad that's the title track, because I think it's one of the strongest track on the record. Now, when we break into the middle of this album, it has some of my it reiterates some of my problems on Black Gives Way to Blue. There's a lot of softer rock tracks with an acoustic guitar in the background at all times and lighter electric parts, and that's again the problem here. Songs like Low Ceiling and Breath on a Window. There's some great melodies in there, and they're not bad songs, but you're losing some of that heavier type rock sound for some more generic kind of rock tunes. one thing is nice, the song Scalpel it's mostly acoustic, which is nice. There's some throwbacks in there to some of the stuff on Sap and Jar of Flies and that track, so it's nice to see more of a straight up acoustic track, which I would rather have a bigger mix of heavier rock tracks with straight acoustic tracks, and maybe kind of eschew some of these semi-acoustic, semi-electric type songs. Now, getting back to William Duvall, who again on this record doesn't get a lot of the lead vocal spotlights, but when he does, it gets pretty awesome, which brings me to Phantom Limb. This song is awesome. William Duvall has a co-writing credit on this track, and it is great. It is heavy, it's sort of progressive, it's one of the better tracks now. It might be my favorite track on the album. Phantom Limb is great. You know, it's great to have Duvall in the front of this, and it's an awesome 7-minute long song. It may feel a touch over long, but I mean that's a minor gripe. It's an awesome track. And then I believe Duvall also has lead vocals in the next track, which is Hung on a Hook, which has a really interesting vocal sound. Hung on a Hook, again, it's when they're sort of trying to do a few things different that this album kind of shines. You know, it gets kind of a few points against it when they're revisiting certain things, which they have to do to satisfy their fan base. But you know, Phantom Limb and Hung on a Hook, you know, towards the end of the album really kind of brought me back into this, because it started off pretty well, although familiar, and then for me it kind of dips a bit. But yeah, especially those two excellent tracks towards the end, Phantom Limb and Hung on a Hook, they really brought it back up for me. Those are great tracks, and just really strong way to do it. So all in all, you know, it's what you'd expect. You know, there were some interviews where Jerry was saying this sounds nothing like what they've done before, and then there were also other interviews where he said that you won't be surprised. And I can tell you that you won't be surprised. Especially, you know, there's a lot of similarity in pacing to Black Gives Way to Blue, so if you like that record, you'll like this one. I wish they'd have pushed the envelope just a little bit more, especially as evidence on Phantom Limb and Hung on a Hook, because there's some real potential in here. You know, Jerry Cantrell is just an awesome guitar player. You know, one of the maybe more underrated songwriters. I mean, there's a lot of people, you know, like some of the more flashier players, and Jerry can do that. You know, he's just a great guy, and his grungy kind of more simpler style sometimes kind of hides, you know, some of his finesse as a songwriter. He's a great writer, and that holds true here. You know, none of these tracks are bad. Yeah, I can say that. You know, I'll say there's nothing on here that's really a bad song. It's just some of it gets to be a little predictable and maybe drags a little. You know, maybe the album is a touch over long. You know, maybe they could have excised a few of these tracks and condensed things a bit. But you know, all in all, this sounds like a band that's really getting comfortable in their second skin. You know, the dynamic has changed. You no longer have Lane Staley, so you know, I feel that the band is getting a lot more comfortable with themselves, which is a good thing. I really look forward to seeing what they can come up with next. You know, I've heard they're great live. I haven't had a chance to see them yet. You know, I know that William Duvall handles most of the Lane stuff on the older tracks, but you know, they're still out there, and it's great that they're out there. I'm glad that they're selling records. I'm glad that people are still really into them. You know, this album won't do anything to hurt them, you know, at all. You know, so it's a solid album. Not quite, in my opinion. You know, Black Gives Way to Blue was such a great album. You know, 14 years, they proved that they still had it. You know, especially the title track on that record just, you know, gives me chills. But so, you know, this one it loses a few points just for not forging new territory, and that's a minor gripe. So I'm probably going to give it, you know, 7 out of 10. It's better than average, but some of the familiarity stops it from just hitting that next level, really getting an 8 or 9 territory, which they could have hit. So definitely check it out. You know, go buy it, support good music. You know, there's just a lot of crap bands out there, and it's good to see a band of Alice in Chains size, you know, still putting out good tunes. They're still around, and they're picking up new fans as we speak, which is a great thing. So check it out. Thanks again for seeing another one of my reviews, and let me know what you think about it. See See you guys later.